Michael Jones, President and CEO of the Institution for Savings. As a business leader in the community, I am very proud of the work ECCF and many of the nonprofit organizations in Essex County have done over the past 15 months. They have provided help and assistance to those in need during the most challenging of times. Together, the strength and perseverance of these organizations have made a big difference in the lives of many. Together, these organizations make our community a better place to live and work. Please join me in thanking them for their unwavering commitment and dedication to Essex County. The Institution for Savings is proud to support ECCF and will continue to look forward to this partnership together.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Brian Mason from the nonprofit banking team at People's United Bank. Our bank and our charitable foundations have been truly inspired to see how our nonprofit partners have responded to the unprecedented needs in our communities during these challenging times. We know our community partners dealt with a number of challenges of their own that made it very difficult for them to carry out their missions. Yet in spite of all these obstacles that came their way, they were still able to lift up our neighbors in need and remain a trusted source of support and aid for members of our community. Thank you to all of our nonprofit partners for your extraordinary work during this unprecedented year. I hope everybody is well and that you have a fantastic summer. Thank you.
I'm David Morales from Unicare. I want to express my deep gratitude for Unicare's nurses, customer service, care managers, for their resilience in working together with our hospitals, our health centers, our first responders. Their work to advance health, to care for our members, and to serve the most vulnerable during one of the darkest moments in our nation's history is nothing short of remarkable. I want to thank them from the bottom of my heart for their work, dedication, and service. Thank you.
Nancy Stager, Eastern Bank Foundation. You know, during COVID, we really saw which organizations were the ones that had the trusted relationships on the ground to be able to have the greatest impact and to be able to have the agility and the speed to help our neighbors in need. ECCF shined. It is a gem for Essex County and beyond. Their systems approach, combined with their deeply rooted community relationships and their terrific collaborative approach, is why Eastern Bank Foundation turns to ECCF again and again. And we'd like to thank all of the people at Essex County Community Foundation for the great work that they've done, and we look forward to partnering with you in the future.
At Comcast, we've rolled up our sleeves to do our part. Over the last year, we've doubled down on our commitment to digital equity by increasing our internet essential speeds, opening 1.5 million Wi-Fi hotspots across our national footprint, creating lift zones to provide Wi-Fi to dozens of community centers in the greater Boston area, and pledging $1 billion over the next 10 years to further close the digital divide. We look forward to continuing our work with ECCF and organizations across Essex County.
We at the Hamilton Group applaud the Essex County community for their work this last year. While filled with fear and uncertainty, people and organizations stepped up to help one another. We are fortunate to live and work in such a special and supportive area. So many of you reached out to those really in need, offering your time and money and talent for programs to help. We thank everyone for their pulling together.
Hi, I'm Brian Gravel from Greylock. Obviously, 2020 was a tough year for many organizations, nonprofits, the community as a whole. But here in Essex County, I really felt like everyone rallied together. We saw it particularly, these live events that you would typically attend in person for fundraising for a nonprofit, for example, went completely virtual. And despite money being tight and people having this uncertainty, groups the community still supported nonprofits, and to me that was very rewarding to see and made me proud to do business and live in Essex County.
Hello everyone, my name is Jen Hockerman and I'm with SV Design. Throughout the last year, we've seen our clients show an enormous amount of resiliency. Clients that are providing affordable housing throughout the North Shore, and clients that are providing important nonprofit services throughout all of Essex County. We'd like to say a big thank you to them and to ECCF for all of your efforts and dedication, which have made Essex County truly a wonderful place for all of us to live. Thank you.
Hi everyone at ECCF, this is Dave McKechnie from Beauport Financial Services. I would just like to thank all of the frontline workers, the folks in the nonprofit area that especially addressed food insecurity like the Open Door and Pathways for Children, the YMCAs across the Essex County have just done a terrific job in meeting the needs of our community during this most difficult time. And then there's of course ECCF that quarterbacks everyone working together in the community. So from all of us, our staff at Beauport Financial Services, thank you to everyone.
I'm Barry Needleman, Managing Director of McLean Middleton. I'd like to thank the Essex County Community Foundation for organizing today's event and for providing critical resources to organizations throughout the pandemic. As we reflect on the challenges of the past 15 months, it's important to recognize the corporate, nonprofit, and public entities that have worked together to address the issues of food insecurity, housing assistance, child care and senior services, and physical and mental well-being among the most vulnerable in our communities. On behalf of all my colleagues at McLean Middleton, we thank you for being on the front lines of these efforts and for strengthening the communities of Essex County.
I'm Blair Steck, Director of Inclusive Philanthropy at the Peabody Essex Museum. Art is a respite, and when we reopened for guests to visit PEM, we were fortunate to bear witness to the comfort, to the escape, and to the inspiration that our institution provided. We could not have gotten to this place of healing, resilience, and wonder without the cooperation and collaboration of our North Shore partners, especially ECCF. And for this, we are grateful. We see once again that we are stronger together.
Hi, I'm Chet Zablak, an Executive Vice President, Enterprise Bank. Part of our mission statement here at Enterprise is that we help to create vibrant, prosperous communities. We have been so inspired by the sense of purpose that the Essex County Community Foundation and our nonprofits embraced over this past year as we were faced with the uncertainty and fear of the pandemic. Thank you for all that you've done to protect, nurture, and sustain our communities during this time of crisis. We are truly inspired by all of you.
Hello everyone, I'm Michael Jones, President and CEO of the Institution for Savings. As a business leader in the community, I am very proud of the work ECCF and many of the nonprofit organizations in Essex County have done over the past 15 months. They have provided help and assistance to those in need during the most challenging of times. Together, the strength and perseverance of these organizations have made a big difference in the lives of many. Together, these organizations make our community a better place to live and work. Please join me in thanking them for their unwavering commitment and dedication to Essex County. The Institution for Savings is proud to support ECCF and will continue to look forward to this partnership together.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Brian Mason from the nonprofit banking team at People's United Bank. Our bank and our charitable foundations have been truly inspired to see how our nonprofit partners have responded to the unprecedented needs in our communities during these challenging times. We know our community partners dealt with a number of challenges of their own that made it very difficult for them to carry out their missions. Yet in spite of all these obstacles that came their way, they were still able to lift up our neighbors in need and remain a trusted source of support and aid for members of our community. Thank you to all of our nonprofit partners for your extraordinary work during this unprecedented year. I hope everybody is well and that you have a fantastic summer. Thank you.
I'm David Morales from Unicare. I want to express my deep gratitude for Unicare's nurses, customer service, care managers, for their resilience in working together with our hospitals, our health centers, our first responders. Their work to advance health, to care for our members, and to serve the most vulnerable during one of the darkest moments in our nation's history is nothing short of remarkable. I want to thank them from the bottom of my heart for their work, dedication, and service. Thank you.
Nancy Stager, Eastern Bank Foundation. You know, during COVID, we really saw which organizations were the ones that had the trusted relationships on the ground to be able to have the greatest impact and to be able to have the agility and the speed to help our neighbors in need. ECCF shined. It is a gem for Essex County and beyond. Their systems approach, combined with their deeply rooted community relationships and their terrific collaborative approach, is why Eastern Bank Foundation turns to ECCF again and again. And we'd like to thank all of the people at Essex County Community Foundation for the great work that they've done, and we look forward to partnering with you in the future.
At Comcast, we've rolled up our sleeves to do our part. Over the last year, we've doubled down on our commitment to digital equity by increasing our internet essential speeds, opening 1.5 million Wi-Fi hotspots across our national footprint, creating lift zones to provide Wi-Fi to dozens of community centers in the greater Boston area, and pledging $1 billion over the next 10 years to further close the digital divide. We look forward to continuing our work with ECCF and organizations across Essex County.
We at the Hamilton Group applaud the Essex County community for their work this last year. While filled with fear and uncertainty, people and organizations stepped up to help one another. We are fortunate to live and work in such a special and supportive area. So many of you reached out to those really in need, offering your time and money and talent for programs to help. We thank everyone for their pulling together.
Hi, I'm Brian Gravel from Greylock. Obviously, 2020 was a tough year for many organizations, nonprofits, the community as a whole. But here in Essex County, I really felt like everyone rallied together. We saw it particularly, these live events that you would typically attend in person for fundraising for a nonprofit, for example, went completely virtual. And despite money being tight and people having this uncertainty, groups, the community still supported nonprofits. And to me, that was very rewarding to see and made me proud to do business and live in Essex County.
Hello everyone, my name is Jen Hockerman and I'm with SV Design. Throughout the last year, we've seen our clients show an enormous amount of resiliency. Clients that are providing affordable housing throughout the North Shore, and clients that are providing important nonprofit services throughout all of Essex County. We'd like to say a big thank you to them and to ECCF for all of your efforts and dedication, which have made Essex County truly a wonderful place for all of us to live. Thank you.
Hi everyone at ECCF, this is Dave McKechnie from Beauport Financial Services. I would just like to thank all of the frontline workers, the folks in the nonprofit area that especially addressed food insecurity, like the Open Door and Pathways for Children, the YMCAs across the Essex County, have just done a terrific job in meeting the needs of our community during this most difficult time. And then there's, of course, ECCF that quarterbacks everyone working together in the community. So from all of us, our staff at Beauport Financial Services, thank you to everyone.
I'm Barry Needleman, Managing Director of McLean Middleton. I'd like to thank the Essex County Community Foundation for organizing today's event and for providing critical resources to organizations throughout the pandemic. As we reflect on the challenges of the past 15 months, it's important to recognize the corporate, nonprofit, and public entities that have worked together to address the issues of food insecurity, housing assistance, child care and senior services, and physical and mental well-being among the most vulnerable in our communities. On behalf of all my colleagues at McLean Middleton, we thank you for being on the front lines of these efforts and for strengthening the communities of Essex County.
I'm Blair Steck, Director of Inclusive Philanthropy at the PBD Essex Museum. Art is a respite, and when we reopened for guests to visit PEM, we were fortunate to bear witness to the comfort, to the escape, and to the inspiration that our institution provided. We could not have gotten to this place of healing, resilience, and wonder without the cooperation and collaboration of our North Shore partners, especially ECCF. And for this, we are grateful. We see once again that we are stronger together.
Hi, I'm Chet Zablak, an Executive Vice President at Enterprise Bank. Part of our mission statement here at Enterprise is that we help to create vibrant, prosperous communities. We have been so inspired by the sense of purpose that the Essex County Community Foundation and our nonprofits embraced over this past year as we were faced with the uncertainty and fear of the pandemic. Thank you for all that you've done to protect, nurture, and sustain our communities during this time of crisis. We are truly inspired by all of you.
Essex County Community Foundation welcomes you to Rising Together, a celebration of hope, resilience, and collaboration in our communities throughout the past year. To open our event and celebrate the ability of arts and culture to lift us up during the most trying of times, please enjoy an original piece from local artist and Raw Artworks staff member, Carlos Arturo Gonzalez Barrios. Rising Together will begin in 10 seconds.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for Rising Together, an event to celebrate the hope, resilience, and collaboration that has emerged from our communities in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. Before we begin, I'd first like to acknowledge the many lives that have been lost to COVID-19. So many of our friends, family members, and co-workers and neighbors have suffered the most devastating consequences of this virus, losing a loved one, and our hearts go out to each and every one of you. At this time last year, the disappointment we felt from having to cancel our annual celebration of giving due to the COVID-19 was still palpable, as the event has always provided such a great opportunity for us to lift up the work of people and organizations that make such an incredible impact on Essex County. We didn't want another year, especially this year, to go by without connecting with you all. And even though we'd hoped to be in person with you right now, we're so grateful to have the technology that allows us to come together even when we must physically stay apart. Today, we're coming to you from the award-winning North Shore Music Theater, the venue ECCF had selected for our 2020 celebration, where our collaborative work in the arts and culture was to take center stage. North Shore Music Theater is a hub for the arts on the North Shore, and the empty seats you see behind me today serve as a visual reminder of just how severely this sector has been hit by the effects of the current health crisis. We encourage all of you to visit the theater and other local arts and culture venues when they can safely welcome back patrons once again. Over the next 45 minutes, you'll hear from ECCF, as well as community leaders, nonprofits, artists, and donors from across Essex County about how working together is the key to recovering from the pandemic and rebuilding for the future. At the conclusion of our event, you'll be treated to an original and inspiring piece of poetry written and performed by local artist Carolyn Harvey, who you may remember from our 2019 Arts and Culture Summit. Before we get our program rolling, I just want to recognize the support of ECCF's corporate sponsors, without whom this event could not happen. These include presenting partner North Shore Bank and lead partners Eastern Bank, People's United Bank, Institution for Savings, the Financial Advisors, Unicare, and Affiliated Managers Group. We thank them for their commitment to supporting the foundation and for caring deeply about Essex County. You can see a complete list of ECCF's partners on our event website. Our mission at ECCF is to strengthen our communities by elevating all of the good happening within them. We help donors increase the impact of their giving. We support nonprofits in their extraordinary efforts to sustain their cities and towns. And we invest in cross-sector collaborations that are addressing the root causes of Essex County's most challenging social issues. Each part of this ecosystem of support is made up of people and organizations that, this year especially, have gone above and beyond on behalf of our communities. For the last 16 months, Essex County has been navigating a global pandemic that has not only taken so many lives, but has also created unprecedented unemployment, intensified existing inequities, and triggered an intense collective grief for all Essex County residents. Across the regions, lines around food pantries grew, the digital divide quickly widened, and an increased number of people experienced a decline in their overall mental health. This crisis has changed us deeply and has changed us forever. And yet hope still remains. Resilience emerges from the ashes of tragedy, loss, and hardship. While we want and need to reflect on all that we've endured over the past year, what we're really here to do today is recognize that silver linings still somehow materialize in the face of crisis, that despite our struggles, good still prevails, that we are a refuge for one another, that just when we are convinced that we're alone, someone is there to lean on, that in Essex County, we rise together. Since the start of the pandemic, despite their own personal hardship, we've seen donors come together to collectively support critical work happening in their cities and towns. We've seen artists come together to find new ways to continue to inspire us with their creativity. And we've seen countless nonprofits and businesses collaborate to deliver resources to people in need. And all across Essex County, we've seen communities come together to figure out ways to move forward, recover, and rebuild. During these trying times, so many have stepped up in meaningful and innovative ways that no doubt will create a better, more equitable future for all of us. There is still much work to be done to ensure that the light at the end of the tunnel is visible for all to see. But today we celebrate how far we've come. Collectively, we've lost so much in the last year, but we've also found something very valuable: strength in each other. Thank you.
Between devastation, both, physically, mentally, emotionally, to be able to have, a family, health, an organization full of wonderful human beings that I can constantly just be in community with, I'm very grateful.
I've seen so much hope and resilience in the last year.
One of the things I love most about this community is the resiliency of the people.
When it comes to this period of time, our students, they're the true expression of resilience.
I just love this community because one thing that this community is resilient.
There's a lot of things I love about this community. Everyone acts like a family.
Now, during the pandemic, I've learned more than probably I've ever learned in 20 years, because people's creativity and willingness and caring.
The true heroes in this relief work are the nonprofits.
The Northeast Arc was able to immediately move all of our programs and supports into a virtual realm.
In the midst of the pandemic in March, I was able to put together a team of 10 people to start contacting businesses from home so they could apply for PPP, for example.
People really put themselves on the line to deliver the services to the people that we have a responsibility for.
The staff understood how dangerous this was, and it gives me hope that people are willing to put their lives on the line to keep other people safe.
A lot of things came to light that I think as a nonprofit leader we always knew, and now the world sees it, right?
In that time I realized that the community needed me as much as I needed the community.
We wanted to find ways to care for people,
to make sure people felt loved and their needs uplifted.
When people are creating in response to aspects of our reality that are clearly not conducive to human flourishing, I think that's when you can see hope.
What I'm most excited about in the post-pandemic world is the connections and the collaborations that were forged during this time to keep going forward.
What excites me the most is seeing all these different groups come together to do something positive.
The collaborations that came out of this are mind-blowing. There's a lot of hope. There's a lot of new ideas.
Now we weren't just helping a small one-off nonprofit or a large nonprofit, we're helping an entire community of people.
It's been remarkable for us to see the resiliency and the adaptability that the local community has had.
We all work together. The borders between our communities are meaningless. If we're not feeding each other, we're not helping each other, we're not doing well.
The more that we can develop those relationships with individuals and institutions who are committed to this cause, the more that we can start to develop long-term commitments directly supporting vulnerable neighbors.
We're more powerful when we work together. Our voices are heard louder and clearer when we work together.
You just saw what's possible when people have the desire and willingness to come together to help others. It's a source of inspiration for us at ECCF, and we hope it inspires you too. Good morning. My name is Beth Francis, and I'm President and CEO of ECCF. In my role, I'm so fortunate to work with people and organizations doing great things every single day. And I'm honored to be here with you this morning to celebrate Essex County's collective efforts to navigate these extraordinary times. The sense of teamwork and the deep bonds that have been built as a result define exactly what it means to be a community in Essex County. Our shared strength lifts people up, it empowers us to support one another in times of need, and it improves and often saves lives. The work we do together changes us and our cities and towns for the better. A major part of that strength comes from our donors. In the last year, generous people from across the county have stepped up in record numbers and with contributions of all sizes. In the wake of a global health crisis intensified by exposed racial inequities, when individual giving can sometimes feel like it's not enough for the big challenges we face. ECCF donors made an incredible impact together. We saw it in the very start of the pandemic from our own family of funds, which responded immediately and generously to Essex County's need for support. In the first 8 weeks alone, ECCF donor funds contributed more than $3 million to nonprofits on the front lines of the crisis, a 65% increase in giving over the same period the prior year. They gave because they saw the dire need for so many in our communities. They gave because of a deep sense of caring and compassion compelled them to rise together to meet this moment. At ECCF, we felt compelled to act too. And when the foundation was asked by community members from across the region to create a way in which we could respond to COVID together, we launched the Essex County COVID-19 Response Fund. And Essex County answered that call. Together, hundreds and hundreds of people just like you have given nearly $10 million to the fund, bringing hope to the thousands of families that were blindsided by loss, unemployment, food insecurity, and housing instability. We are honored that donors of all shapes and sizes, individuals, community groups, businesses, and foundations trusted ECCF with these vital resources aimed at helping our local nonprofits do what they do best, care for the most vulnerable among us. Some of those nonprofits were new to ECCF And among the things we've learned throughout the pandemic is that there are many grassroots organizations in Essex County working hard to support those who need help the most. ECCF has also been extremely fortunate to have partnered with the Mass COVID Relief Fund for additional resources in our community. We are so grateful to First Lady Lauren Baker and the 1-8 Foundation and the statewide funders who recognized the incredible need in our local communities and supporting our efforts to help them navigate the effects of the pandemic with additional philanthropic funds. We've learned too that in the wake of a crisis, relationships really do matter. When state and federal leaders sought a way to deliver critical resources to local communities, they looked to ECCF for support. They recognized the strong connections that ECCF has worked so hard to build with our local nonprofits. We were privileged to leverage these relationships, as we did during the Greater Lawrence gas disaster, to effectively deliver state and federal resources to the Essex County communities most impacted by COVID-19. At ECCF, we treasure the opportunity to channel this additional state and federal funding to local organizations, funding that is vital to our most vulnerable communities during times of such great need. And the needs this past year were certainly immense. The COVID-19 pandemic simultaneously intensified calls for help while further straining our systems of support. Barriers to accessible food, basic necessities, housing and childcare became higher, compelling us all to dig deeper. In the wake of COVID-19 in Essex County, we've done together what we always do during crisis. We gave more and more. We raised money at our churches to support families. Our children broke open their piggy banks to help kids in need. And ECCF's donor funds delivered more charitable support to nonprofits, the true heroes of relief work. All of it, adds up to an incredible collective impact. We are rising together in every city and in every town from across every corner of Essex County. Individuals, businesses, organizations, and communities are finding ways to collectively do more. And we are honored today to share some of their stories with you.
I would say the needs in the community felt overwhelming.
I call it an enemy that you can't see, you can't taste, you can't smell.
So I have a lot of people that are just really afraid of what's next.
The challenges early on were many.
We're seeing a huge increase in food insecurity all across Massachusetts.
People are hungry. We need to do something.
The mental health and the wellness of people, the isolation, is something that I think keeps me up at night.
There was all these complicated technological issues, and those were expensive. And we would not have been able to make that pivot without the help of the Essex County Community Foundation.
The COVID Response Fund was one of the recipients of a very specific investment that North Shore Bank made, focused on the immediate needs of the community, shelter, food insecurity. We knew that ECCF could distribute those funds to a number of smaller nonprofits that we may not have had the specific reach for.
We decided that it was very important for us to be part of this collective giving because individually we could have some impact, but for us to know that we were getting together with other fund holders, we could see a far greater impact for our giving.
Each one of the dollars that comes into our community really does go farther, and it does have a multiplier effect. The more we can be collaborative, the better off we are.
If we can get the people that we do business with, our employees and our friends and our family, to also engage, that has an exponential effect.
So that has been such a gift to South Church. It's been amazing to see the giving of our congregation increase by tenfold in this year, in a pandemic year. People have seen what our mission partners are doing, have felt a closeness to that work, and have also experienced the joy of that collective giving.
As we started to donate initial monies, the giving started to be really amazing. And that's the power of collective giving.
The response from our congregation was amazing. We raised, I think it was $7,500.
We're beginning to think about a whole new ecosystem of food insecurity agencies. We are kind of foot soldiers with them in addressing hunger relief here on the North Shore.
The funding that we receive, it really helps in making sure that we continue to feed our elders.
I certainly sleep a lot better now than I did in March and April. The support did mean life and death for a number of our patients.
We live in a country that is so individualistic, right? Like as Americans, we just think of ourselves, like what does it take for me to care for myself? But we are connected as human beings, right? Like your hurt is my hurt, and we need to care for each other. And when we do care for each other, we are changed and transformed through that.
When COVID struck last year, the arts and culture sector was one of the first and hardest hit, as it relies on public audiences to thrive. Theaters, museums, galleries, concert venues, and more, they all need people coming together to appreciate the dazzle of a production, the emotion of an exhibit, or the sound of live music. But the arrival of the pandemic meant that the show could not go on. The stage here at North Shore Music Theater has been empty for more than a year. And it's not just the artists themselves that have suffered this loss, it's everyone that helps keep the doors open. It's the ticket attendants, curators, producers, writers, the directors, educators, marketing staff, graphic designers, and lighting engineers. A recent survey by the Mass Cultural Council revealed that cultural organizations here in Massachusetts have suffered a staggering $588 million loss of revenues. Artists have reported over $30 million in lost income, and statewide, over 30,000 cultural jobs have been impacted. Beyond this grim economic data, there's another loss that it's much more difficult to quantify, but no less significant. It's the loss of the sense of belonging and connection we feel when we experience live music, theater, or the visual arts together as a community. This loss is particularly difficult to endure during a time of isolation. Despite these obstacles, but also because of them, we've persevered. We're rising together to use the power of arts and culture to not only help our communities cope with the immediate challenges of a public health crisis, but also to create strong partnerships for the future. In Methuen, artists, nonprofits, local businesses, and the city itself are connecting to Light the Falls at Spigot River, where a spectacular light installation will unite the community and highlight this historic area of the city. This is just one of 6 collaborative public art projects that have come together despite the adversities presented by the pandemic. In the last year, hundreds of artists and cultural leaders have met monthly to connect and share resources and ideas at monthly meetups, which have turned into a space where people come together to brainstorm innovative solutions for the creative sector and then bring them to life. And since March of 2020, donors have come together to provide critical support to artists and cultural nonprofits most affected by the devastating economic effects of the pandemic. We're so inspired by the fact that despite the setbacks we've experienced in the last year, this work has continued and the spirit of creativity has endured. When we could no longer go to theaters, galleries, and museums, artists brought their work to us. Outdoor and virtual dance, music, and theater performances, art classes, poetry readings, and more helped us through our darkest hours. And we know that arts, culture, and creativity will continue to help us rise from this crisis. Beyond that, we believe Essex County's creative sector is stronger and more united than ever before, and that it has the exponential power to help create healthier and more vibrant and connected communities for the future. This collaborative work, this idea of creating together, is more than just a nice to have. Creating together breaks down barriers, it fosters understanding, and it provides a path for healing and unity. Creating together allows us to do collectively what we cannot do alone.
initially, when the pandemic started, the creativity and motivation to create was stunted.
It was an overnight shock. Every single person in the creative community was shut down overnight.
I heard from a lot of people early on, I'm gonna close my business, I can't do this, there's no way I can sustain, they weren't paying me before, why are they gonna pay me after?
For many of our high school students, a third of them are actually working full-time to support their families. And so they had to make the choice between, supporting their families and engaging in something that they love, which is the arts.
We have had a year of individualistic existence, and we now see and understand how important it is that we are working together.
The pandemic really forced us into a new space with that. Now we know we need to be collaborative in order to survive.
We simply can't afford to go with the old model of the us four and no more, or I have mine, you do yours. If you're not taking care of your brothers and sisters, so to speak, we all suffer.
So what really excites me about the Lawrence Theater Festival, for me, it's a chance to become part of this community in ways we have not been. We knew about the Essex Arts Center, we knew about Elevated Thought, and yet we haven't worked together.
The goal, long-term, for Lawrence Theater Festival is to continue to make stronger and broader connections within the city, within the organizations. We're working, for instance, with Lawrence High School.
When we heard that this festival was happening, we said, hey, you know what? This is a great opportunity for us to really build the bridge between school and community. Students look at, individuals that are from Lawrence, who went through what they went through, who know their experience. And so, that connection is huge when it comes to their own engagement in school and the arts.
They can see people that look like them, they can work alongside them. That inspires the imagination, it inspires creativity, and it just brings a new energy.
The creative community itself has been really instrumental in bringing light and joy and hope.
Arts and culture are really the life of a community.
Creatives need to make stuff. Artisans need to make stuff. So when the world needed it, seeing hundreds of makers for free make masks in PPP. I saw so many artists take their talents and do fundraisers. These people need to perform, and they took that need to perform and they turned it into, a community benefit.
I think we're finding more and more creative ways to just bring the entire region together, not just the Merrimack Valley, but extend it. This work that we're creating collectively is emanating out.
It is invaluable to have an organization like ECCF promoting what's going on, to say, hey, we're here, we see you, and to help elevate your platform.
Without collaboration over the course of the past year, I don't think we would be having as much hope. Collaborations between the creative community, small businesses, municipalities, nonprofit organizations, artists, makers, performers, all of that. It's shown us a path forward that's going to be better.
I don't see that stopping. I mean, if we can pull this festival off this first time, there's no reason why it can't be the model for an annual event.
Arts and creativity in our communities is an economic driver that's really well established.
Hope is real here. And when you look across the country, when you look across the globe, art is a feature of, a collective pursuit for justice and for hope and for human flourishing.
At ECCF, we see ourselves and our communities as part of something bigger. And we know that to tackle challenges and make the most of opportunities, we need to find new ways of working together. Collaboration is the only way forward. As a community foundation, our role is to bring people together, to identify the challenges that most impact our region, and encourage collaborative solutions that accelerate the tremendous work our nonprofits and community leaders do each and every day. More than that, we see it as our responsibility to inspire philanthropy and deliver charitable resources that help to overcome our region's challenges and create a place where every resident, every business owner, and every community has the opportunity to thrive. How can we accomplish this? By building trusted relationships and interconnected ecosystems, encouraging joint problem solving, investing in and amplifying local solutions already flourishing in our cities and towns, and inspiring others to support the work. When we come together authentically, humbly, openly, and with a common goal in mind, we can accomplish anything. The whole can be greater than the sum of its parts, and never has this type of innovative collaboration been more critical than it is today. We call it systems work, and we have seen firsthand how successful systems formed in the wake of one crisis are helping us navigate today's crisis and setting us up for a thriving future. What does this systems work look like? We've seen a small business ecosystem formed after the Greater Lawrence gas disaster mobilize and expand during COVID to secure significant PPP support and supplies of PPE so thousands of local businesses can better endure the pandemic. A county-wide collaborative, including our 5 community action agencies and other grassroots community partners, created a critical infrastructure to deliver much-needed resources to over 6,000 of our most vulnerable individuals and families, including immigrants and refugees. We've witnessed a collaboration of charitable foundations, local workforce boards, vocational schools, and employers come together to deliver a virtual workforce training program to help Essex County navigate unprecedented unemployment. And we've celebrated a system of 8 local institutions of higher learning unite to invest in and expand programs that award college credit for work experience, because now, more than ever, people need affordable and effective pathways to better paying jobs for the new future we all face. ECCF is not here to build systems. The pieces are already there. Our role is to connect those pieces to help develop and strengthen those collaborative muscles so that as a region, we can continue to be more responsive, agile, and resilient to future shocks. We need this work now more than ever before. For so many reasons, strong systems are critical to Essex County's future, which continues to evolve even as the pandemic meets a new turning point with increasingly widespread vaccinations. One of the most pressing challenges identified during the pandemic was the digital divide. COVID-19 came in like a storm, and when the tides receded, long-standing inequities like rocks once hidden beneath the water's surface were fully exposed. In a world that had gone entirely virtual nearly overnight, we were faced with the widespread lack of access to affordable internet, equipment, and digital training. The data showed us that the digital divide impacts all ages and regions of our county. Senior citizens struggling with isolation, small businesses looking to move online, students working remotely, folks applying for unemployment, and patients seeking a vaccine or a telehealth appointment, as a few examples. Many of our most vulnerable populations have been left behind as a result of their inability to adequately access and navigate our increasingly digital world. And our communities of color and small, rural towns have proven to be more greatly impacted. What the rocks have shown us is that digital access is no longer a privilege, but a basic need that must be addressed now, especially as many of the digital changes that have occurred during COVID will remain and grow in a post-pandemic world. Meeting the challenge of digital equity will require a systems approach and lots of co-learning and working together. Today, we are excited to announce and share our new digital equity program, a $2 million, 2+ year initiative to help get all of Essex County online. You can learn more about the countywide effort in a live Zoom session directly following this event. To rise together, we need to work together to build a stronger, more resilient future for us all. No one can illustrate this point better than our partners working together to build effective systems that will help our Essex County communities. When COVID hit, the water levels went down and rocks were exposed. And these rocks were the inequities of digital divide that had always persisted, but that were suddenly exposed.
Over 60,000 families in Essex County need the internet, and a majority of those families are right here in Salem.
It's no longer a privilege. It's now something that is a must-have to persist in our society.
The education systems now require young people and children to do homework on the internet.
Before the pandemic, it wasn't really that bad, but during the pandemic, there is a lot of students doing classes via Zoom, and the Wi-Fi is really slow. Me and my brother will need to think, okay, I will not go to class today, so you could pay attention in class, and the Wi-Fi won't be slow for you on your side. It was difficult. It was really difficult.
Innovation is happening and collaboration is happening, and it's resulting in our most vulnerable getting what they need faster.
When the pandemic first started, we had a youth build program, which is our education and job training program. We immediately said we need to bring these computers home to our young people because we knew that it wasn't just for them, but for their families.
Youth build actually helped me. They got me I think it's a card, and I can use my phone as a hotspot. I was able to attend my classes. I was actually doing wonderful.
The fact that we're able to give them computers and wireless cards and see some actually get their high school diploma during the pandemic, where I'm like, this is awesome, right? They couldn't even get it when we were in person and they were going to a regular high school. But during a pandemic, they were able to achieve these things.
I do want to go to college, Salem State, hopefully, for my registered nursing.
So when we did distribute computers and laptops to the youth build students, people were using the computers and the tablets to call their families in other countries. I think that people were scared and people didn't know what to do. They were able to get support through telehealth, to get mental health services, which is so important.
Youth build is like a family, and it's just a great experience.
Right now we're working on a plan to get access to the whole Point neighborhood for free Wi-Fi services. In addition to that, there's going to be a streamlined major support opportunity of us really looking at how we can engage the community and not just getting Wi-Fi, but educating them how to use it properly. And also our small businesses, we were able to streamline Zoom classes for them. We were in this kind of understanding that a lot of the small businesses kind of understood technology, but they really didn't see how much opportunity and access it opened up.
To tackle the digital divide is going to require all of us to work together.
One of the things that North Shore CDC is most excited about is our partnership with ECCF and their focus on not just the digital divide work, but also their focus on their racial equity work.
We need to work together. We need to collaborate to tackle these issues, and we need to think differently about how we're going to solve these problems that are really systemic. I've been excited and enthusiastic about the spirit of collaboration that we've seen and the desire for people to roll up their sleeves and to help their neighbor.
That was a great example of the type of collaboration that's happening all across our region. In Essex County, people are rising together to overcome obstacles and create working partnerships that will improve our communities for the future. And at ECCF, we're excited to work alongside our cities and towns with our nonprofits, local businesses, public officials, and donors to rebuild and find ways for all of us to thrive. And as you can see, when it comes to digital equity, one of the most critical issues during the COVID-19 crisis, if we work together, we can come closer to helping all people across the digital world. In the face of crisis, it can be difficult to know how to meaningfully take action. We encourage you to give what you can, whether it be your time to volunteer or your charitable support for local nonprofits. Look for ways you can help people living right in your own community. We all play a very important role in rising together as we emerge from COVID-19 a stronger, more resilient Essex County. We want to thank North Shore Music Theater for opening up their doors to us and giving ECCF the opportunity to highlight Essex County's incredible art sector, which has been especially hard hit by COVID-19. We also want to thank our corporate sponsors once again for helping to make Rising Together and ECCF's work possible. Following this event, in just a few minutes, we invite you to stay with us for a live digital equity breakout session where you'll get an in-depth look at ECCF's vision and strategy to advance digital equity in our region and learn more about how you can get involved. To participate in this live event, just click the Zoom link in your confirmation email or in the program highlights section of the event page. But before we get to that, we want to close our program by giving a voice to the sense of resilience and hope we feel in rising together. To do that, I'd like to introduce an artist many of you may already know from their inspiring performance at the 2019 Essex County Arts and Culture Summit, Gloucester poet Caroline Harvey, who's here to recite their original poem that reflects on the power of hope to lift us all up over this past year.
Open this letter when you feel alone and hopeless in the heaviest part of midnight. Darling, you've not always been kept safe, I know. Somewhere inside, you're still that small babe, growing up on the farm, hiding in the feed bags on top of the hay bales, waiting out the fight. Your heart is still broken from the last time you were vulnerable and deceived, and that's okay. Not everything happens for a reason. The poets lied about that one. But make no mistake about this. To feel even a speck of gratitude for this life, for this chaotic pilgrimage, is holy protest, is sacred revolution. The hope for better, when the worst is having dinner at your kitchen table, that's you, building a medicine wheel around your enemies and saying you did not win. Darling, you are imperfect and strange, terrifying in the way that you love, as impossible to imprison as the tide. The plague that tried to erase us, the anger that came for your body, the helplessness, that untamable falcon clung to your neck, none of it bested you. Your every inhale, every strike of guitar string, every word you commit to a page, every breath is a testament to the fierce rising of a mind that refused the fall. You are a candle in a hurricane church. Your existence is an inextinguishable burst of stardust. Say this right now. Say this out loud. I am breathing. Say, I am as glorious as the weapons of hate are powerless. Say, I am an abalone shell, glittering diamond in the rubble. I am a king amidst a million fallen crowns. Answer me this. How many hands have you held tender while they cried? How many have you invited into your kitchen and warmed them by the fire? How much have you given away even when your pockets were empty? You, unrelenting protector of creative impulse. You, resolute rising bird of artistic flock. How many times have you forgiven yourself? How many times have you recovered? Open your eyes. Blink back the moonlessness, no matter how thick and glutted. Say Lucille's words with your whole throat open. Say, every day, something has tried to kill me and has failed. Say, I am not my mistakes. I am not what happened to me. I am not who I once was. I am no one else's redemption, no one's accident. This is my one life. I earned this life. I earned this feast. Memorize the names of your ancestors. And know they died so you could live, so you could remember how to hope for something different, something better. The Buddhists, they teach us that hope is not some blind devotion to a particular outcome. Hope is a complicated bardo, an intermediary luminescent space in which we embrace both the messy mayhem and the possibility of pure, illuminated joy. That's the battle that strains us. The challenge of choosing love when these days the world keeps teaching us how to hate. I can't erase the midnight for you, my beloved, my darling. The sand will keep slipping through the glass no matter how hard we pray for a pause. But this is the life we have, and it's going to keep getting lived, no matter you feel like the kite or the hand holding the string. But what if you could be the wind? Would they name you crazy for how reckless you flaunt your abandon? Let them. Refuse to apologize. Refuse to lay down your arms when there's still so much fight left in your bones. Let them hear you. Invite them to shout as you shout, I am alive. I am resilient. I am infinite and wild. And today is not the day I give up. Can you hear your voice echoing through the hall? Can you hear your sound getting louder and more brilliant with every revolve? Don't get quiet now. Generations of children in every direction. They're listening for your call.